This is the Week in Review for TheTrumpet.com, Friday, December 23, 2011. On Sunday, the last convoy of U.S. troops left Iraq. The departing transports crossed the border into Kuwait early Sunday morning and brought a formal conclusion to the war, which lasted almost 9 years. In order to reduce the threat of roadside attacks on the highways as they departed, American forces had to pay off tribal sheiks in the region. The same day U.S. forces left, Shiite authorities charged Iraq's vice president, who is Sunni, with terrorism and issued a warrant for his arrest. Shiite Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has also asked Parliament to remove the deputy prime minister, who is also Sunni. Sunnis have responded by trying to unseat al-Maliki. Iraq's Shiites outnumber the Sunnis 2-1, and it appears that they are taking full advantage of America's departure to tighten their grip on Iraq's government. The sectarian crisis got violent on Thursday. At least 40 people were killed when bombs tore through mainly Shiite areas of Baghdad. Watch for Iraqi Shiites to respond and for Shiite Iran to cement its hold on Iraq after the American taillights have faded in the distance. Pakistani jihadists held a massive rally on Sunday to protest a reconciliation between their country and the United States. America's fragile relationship with Pakistan fractured late last month when NATO killed several Pakistani soldiers during a border clash. Pakistan has reacted with anger and has shut down NATO supply routes into Afghanistan. Washington has tried to patch up the relationship. Its ambassador to Pakistan has attended an interfaith dialogue, joined prayers for the dead soldiers, and met with leaders to try to control the diplomatic damage. The CIA has also suspended drone strikes against suspected militants hiding in Pakistan, but the right-wing activists who attended the rally in the city of Lahore promised a huge protest campaign if the supply lines reopen. Pakistanis are still outraged against the United States, and long-standing distrust exists between Washington and Islamabad. In the long term, expect Pakistan and America's relationship to crash and for American foreign policy to continue its retreat. Another Catholic child abuse scandal has emerged in the Netherlands this week. A commission investigating the Catholic Church published its report last Friday. The report found that thousands of Dutch children suffered abuse over 65 years, and that Catholic officials knew about it but covered it up. The commission estimated that during this time, priests and other officials abused 10 to 20,000 child victims. One victim said the commission did not investigate the scandal in enough detail and that there was sexual abuse, violence, and spiritual terror occurring. But because the details remain vague, he said, Catholic leaders are able to avoid responsibility. The epidemic of child abuse and cover-ups continues, the Catholic Church showing that its reputation is more important than the lives of its children. Beijing has signed a multilateral deal that bolsters its power in the region. The Asia Times reported last Friday that China, Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand have agreed to conduct joint patrols along the Mekong River. In addition to the joint patrols, the four nations will share intelligence, establish a multinational headquarters, and conduct joint security training under the direction of Chinese forces. This marks the first time that Chinese forces will carry out sustained operations in another country without a mandate from the United Nations. Watch for smaller Asian nations to continue to rally behind Beijing or be forced to cooperate as China solidifies its position as a budding Asian superpower. On Wednesday, the South American trading bloc Mercosur agreed to block all ships flying the Falkland Islands flag from docking at their ports. Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay, a landlocked nation, as well as Venezuela, agreed to the embargo. A British Foreign Office spokesman protested the decision and said neither Britain nor the Falklands will bend to bullying and blackmail. This is the latest in a series of provocations over the islands, possessions which Britain lacks the military and the will to hold. Latin American leaders have lashed out this month against America's voracious appetite for drugs. The leaders have criticized the United States government for not doing more to curb drug consumption. At a meeting in Caracas, Venezuela, Guatemalan President Alvaro Colom said, "Our region is seriously threatened by organized crime, yet there is very little responsibility taken by the drug-consuming countries." Argentine President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner said it seemed that Latin America ends up with all the deaths and guns, and others end up with the drugs and the money. At another summit held this week in Mexico City, leaders from 11 Latin American nations issued a formal statement that accuses the United States of being the world's top consumer of illicit drugs and calling on Washington to change its drug policies. The United Nations said that every year Americans consume a mountain of drugs worth $142 billion. Last year, Chinese hackers infiltrated the United States Chamber of Commerce and remained undetected for at least 6 months. The attack was finally quashed in May of last year. The Wall Street Journal reported on Wednesday that the break-in is one of the boldest yet in the ongoing electronic assault against American companies. Chamber officials say the hackers focused on employees who dealt with Asian policy. The Chamber's chief operating officer said that the hackers had an unusual level of sophistication and knew exactly who the employees were that they wanted to target. The Chinese government denies any connection to the hacking, but a congressional report last month found that the Chinese are the world's most active and persistent perpetrators of economic espionage, and American computers are vulnerable. Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa called for cuts to the city budget in order to pay for the damage done by Occupy Los Angeles protesters. Damage to the grounds around City Hall, vandalism of its buildings, the police action that cleared the encampment, and hauling away the protesters' debris amounts to more than $1 million in expenses for the city. That is the Trumpet.com Week in Review.